Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And we are reviewing new Doctor Who, brand new Doctor Who. This is technically the third episode, but we missed our window to review Wild Blue Yonder before this one came out, so we're doing things slightly out of sync. Which, if you think about it, is very in canon for the show. So I think this is fair. I think we can get away with it. So we're here to talk about episode 3 of the Doctor Who 60th specials, The Giggle. This is after Wild Blue Yonder, which there will be a review coming of sort of further down the line, where the Doctor and Donna were, I would say, traumatized for about an hour. And then they return to Earth to find everything's going bad. People hate each other more than usual. And are taking it to extreme levels. There is a mysterious toy maker behind it. How has he done this? What does this mean for
Can't believe he's done this.
What does this mean for our heroes? What it means is that by the end of this, spoiler alert, we're going to have 2 separate Doctors, which is naturally, much like the division of the Doctors, divided the fan community.
No,
but we will come on to that in due course as we review this episode. As always, we do 3 positives and 3 negatives, which I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about this week. But first of all, what did you think of the episode overall?
I really liked it. I think it was easily my favourite of the specials. Obviously, we haven't talked about Wild Blue Yonder yet, but we'll get onto that when the time comes. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think it was kind of firing on all cylinders. You can kind of see how they've been setting it up to this point with the prior 2. I don't want to spoil my positives, but I just had a blast. I think it was a great kind of end to the story they were telling with these specials, rather than, I guess, the 60th anniversary celebrations. And yeah, obviously there's going to be those controversies about the endings, and I'm sure we'll get into that in great detail. But there was a lot to enjoy here. I had a really great time with it. Even just sat on my own when it was pissing it down outside where I am. The vibes were still immaculate. So yeah, I had a really good time with it. I have enjoyed most of what we've gotten with the specials thus far, but I do think this kind of elevated that a bit. And I think, I guess, the stakes of it being like a regeneration story and, the toy maker coming back and everything, I think that helps kind of elevate it. And yeah, it kept me hyped right from the start, and it keeps the hype going for the next couple of weeks. We wait for the Christmas special as well. So, I think it did what it needed to do with that. And yeah, we've been set up for quite the interesting next few years with our new guy, I think is safe to say. But yeah, for now, I think this was a really great kind of final to the specials, and yeah, definitely the strongest one in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was sat watching it in the living room, lights off. The only lights were the Christmas tree, so it was a very festive feel, and it was great. Yeah, that whole I think the whole episode, I really enjoyed it. It's by far my favorite of the.
Yeah, when the credits rolled on the pre-title sequence, it's like, we got a good one. I was like, yes, here we go.
Yes, finally, we're off to a good start. Spoilers from how we may feel about the Wild Blue Yonder opening credits. It's it wasn't bad for the racist reasons. Okay,
no,
that's not what we're saying. Okay, that's not the problem.
Completely important. It's the Doctor Who universe. It's fine.
It's fine.
And it was better than the start, at least. I was scared this was going to open like, once upon a time, Lord, there was a toy maker.
60 years ago.
If he ever comes back, I will die.
Oh, not quite. But
I poured some salt at the edge of the universe. It's back.
Oh God. But yes, we have 3 positives, 3 negatives. I think if it's all thrown us out. Technically, you're supposed to be next to go first for the positives, but that would have been for Blue Yonder. So
yeah,
now it should.
Just tell me what we're doing.
We might have the same ones. My first positive is Neil Patrick Harris and the toy maker.
That's my second one. So yeah.
Yeah, so pretty close. I mean, I think when we saw the casting, we kind of thought, he'll be good. You know, we've seen him act in Series of Unfortunate Events, How I Met Mother, where he has the ability to sort of play these over the top sort of characters that also have, you know, especially How I Met Your Mother, they have a depth to them. And I think he does that very well in this. He's just straight from the off. You get the weird, creepy vibe where he's talking about how the hair was real hair, that he's taken it off the head of somebody that won't need it anymore. I was like, oh, yeah, I can't tell if he's actually being serious. Yeah, I was like,
okay,
thank you. And then when his accent slips as well, and the guy calls him out, and he's immediately sort of back up and puts the show on. I was like, it's just slightly sinister.
He didn't start doing the evil voice. He tried to keep it going. I appreciate that.
Certainly did.
But change it up.
And you know, that's only in the first 3 minutes of the show. And then, you know, when he's introduced, when him and the doctor meet properly for the first time in his shops, and the whole ball scene, really appreciate how he's like, Donna Noble, you're the one with the balls. Like, that's good. I appreciate that. And then obviously we can't go much further without not talking about the Spice Girls, Spice Up Your Life.
I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna have to say here, this is just its own positive for me.
I thought about it, but I put it in for this.
I couldn't really think of one that was like I felt really, really strongly like, I love that as like a separate one other than my two. So I was like, that just needs to be the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about my second and third here, really.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, the whole scene. Obviously, we had 3 episodes ago Sacha Dhawan's Rasputin. I was like, this is great. And then because this character has the ability to make it even more wilder. It just goes crazy. He's popping up everywhere with the lines when he's sat next to Shirley on the phone.
That is my favorite shot in the episode, which was like, spice up your life. And Shirley's like,
and then it's like when he turns the 2 into balls, and then it's like, what happens? Like, they're dead. It's like, oh,
they're
God,
they're dead. I'm sorry. This is in the background. Spice up your life.
And he just tangos with Kate and spins her away, throws her against the wall.
She took a beat in there, and Mel is like, whee!
It's just I don't know. I mean, we've had this Doctor Who's done this before, especially in New Who, so it's not a new thing for this for a character to do. But it's these wild sort of set pieces that the show can get away with because of the characters it has and the situations it puts itself in. And I think they were saying on one of the behind the scenes things that if they didn't get Neil Patrick Harris for it, they don't know who could have pulled it off as well as he could. And I think that's a fair point, because he just delivers the performance because it's so funny, but at the same time you're like, this guy is killing people in this scene, and there's no visible way you can stop him.
Yeah.
And it's all set to Spice Girls. I think it's great. It's great.
When we first got that shot, is like one of the very first trailers of him with like all the petals.
And like,
oh my God, it's a musical sequence. People were saying that. Nothing could have prepared me for like, it's Spice Up Your Life. The Spice Girls.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's so contemporary. Like Rasputin, that's fairly that's 80s music, I think. Spice Up Your Life is fairly contemporary. So you're not, you won't hear it as much. You have a similar situation with The Master and Sound of Drums. But this just takes it to a whole new level. Neil Patrick Harris is great in it. Another fun fact from the behind the scenes is that he had no idea what the song was. He'd never heard it before because it's such a big thing in the UK, but it's not that big in America. So he was like, everybody do this song, but I had no idea what it is. And he had to learn it, and because he obviously lip syncs to it. But no, he's great. I think, you see the range of emotions from when he's confronting the Doctor with the gun, and he almost goes, okay, yeah, I'll come with you. But there's just that slight ego there where he's like, well, why would I go with you when I can just literally do whatever I want? And that plays into how he's defeated as well, with his ego and thinking, I can take on anyone, I can beat anyone at any game. And I think he stole the show in every scene. We didn't even talk about his little puppet show where he's going through the sort of companions between.
I can't believe I got a Clara mention in 2023. I want that puppet. What do I have to do to get that puppet? I will do it.
I think that whole sequence was great. I think it helps show the Doctor's emotion and reaction, and it also catches new viewers up if they need to. And I just appreciated that. Oh yeah, okay, they're technically alive, but they're not living a full life safe, are they? All of these people died. Sure, they might not have died conventionally, but they still died because of you. And I've seen people criticize that there was no 13 ones. That's because none of her companions died, so they had to improvise with the flux. If Yaz had died, then maybe there'd be something, but no one died. So
he had to pick and choose the ones that they ended quite badly for them, all things considered.
Yeah,
to try and get to Donna, and Donna just being Donna, completely unfazed. One of my favorite bits as well. It does slightly, I guess, undermine the threat of the toy maker. But when she was like, "I'm already running," and then she's just
she's like, "Oh,
completely unfazed." Like, here we go. All right.
Yeah. I've had enough of this. I want to go home now. Should have come back. God, why did you drag me back into this? But yeah, I did find that funny. But yeah, I mean, Neil Patrick Harris and the toy maker. We'll come on to some. I've got a negative about it, but it's more of a what didn't happen than what did. But yeah, I think what we got with him, just excellent, and I think it really sells this as a showpiece. I think, and I'd love to see him come back. If there's a possibility, he is just a little folded boy in a box. So
yeah,
you never know. But anything can happen on this show, as we've
banished forever in Doctor Who never means forever. So
it means 2 years. So he'll be back.
If that. Really,
So. In which case, you want to talk about your second and third positives now?
I guess so. So yeah, the toy maker. I've kind of put all his toy maker isms, I guess, in there. So the puppets as well, the whole puppet show he put on and stuff. I did like him trying to get at Donna with that, but I guess it kind of got to the Doctor more. Just that little kind of fun slideshow. I just love the idea. Neil Patrick Harris had to learn all of that here. Who the fuck are these people? What the fuck am I saying? What's a weeping angel? Who the fuck is Amy? Who the fuck is Bill?
Never seen the show. On? He's like, what the fuck is this?
What on earth?
I think he said in behind the scenes, I think they put on YouTube, that Russell just pinged him on Instagram, was like, "Hey, do you want to do Doctor Who? I'll send you a script." And he looked at it, was like, "Oh," and they looked at it and he went, "Yeah, all right then, I'll be in. I love this role."
Very well. But yeah, it would be. You can tell he's having just the best fun with that part.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't? Because it was a very fun part to play. I think it made sense. With the whole kind of idea of the puppet and how that influences everyone on the TVs and stuff. It makes sense for the toy maker to kind of be the person behind that and to bring him into the real world, which is obviously something different to do with him because he was in his own little branch of reality in that original story he was in. So yeah, I thought it made sense to kind of bring him back. And yeah, Neil was clearly having an absolute blast doing it. I did like how funny he could be, how quite creepy he could be with it as well. That whole sequence with the Spice Up Your Life bit, which is obviously its own thing for me, just because that sequence is so batshit stupid in the best way. How are they going to stop this man? How are they going to do it? And I do like that kind of feeling of almost hopelessness, I guess. Very much very different vibes, Spice Up Your Life and Avengers Infinity War. But you watch that thinking how are they going to beat this guy? It's just hopeless. And it was hopeless for obviously in Infinity War. So I like a villain that does make you feel like that. And you're like, I don't know what they're going to do here. And obviously they do find quite the way of getting rid of him. A stroke of luck, shall we say. And I really enjoyed that. And the puppets were creepy as fuck, particularly the children puppets were gross. And I did like the kind of leaned into that horror a bit with those kind of puppets. It's just, I don't like puppets anyway. I talked about this with the ventriloquist dummies in the God Complex. It's just a creepy, creepy design and idea right from the off. So, whenever Doctor Who uses them, those peg dolls in Night Terrors as well, anything kind of that vibe, it just works with the creep factor. And I'm glad they kind of leaned into that, particularly that sequence with Donna. So yeah, everything he was kind of doing, even with that poor guy in the pre-credit sequence.
Oh, that's horrific.
It's a bit of a puppet, and you got that great shot of we saw of him in the trailers when he's moving the strings and everything. That was really cool. So yeah, it was a great kind of villain, I think, to bring back particularly for like a 60th special. It is a villain people kind of did want to see again, and I think they updated him very, very well for the 21st century and made him just bonkers and batshit and very mastery, I guess, in a way. But I do think there was a lot more of a playfulness rather than a vindictiveness to what he was doing, which I think is the big difference. Although he did have the master in his tooth, so the master was there in spirit, I guess.
It's true.
Ding, the little sound effect.
But did you also see that when they did that, they just gave him loads more teeth?
He had loads of teeth, didn't he? Yeah.
I was like, I don't like that.
He had it when he smiled at shooting.
Yeah, twice. Both times they showed the tooth, it was just a row of I don't know how many teeth. I was like, I don't know what that is, but it's
there's
horrible.
a lot of teeth and it's horrible. Yeah. So yeah, even just little things like that just made him a bit unnerving and creepy that I did really enjoy. So he was a great kind of villain, I think, to bring back for this. And the fact that he's also still there to set up something that apparently is even bigger than him. Because there's something that he was like, I'm not going anywhere near this person.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yes, this was the Doctor's biggest threat yet. And he's like, oh, but I'm scared of this guy. So I'm excited to see who that's going to be. And yeah, I do think it was kind of a nice, appropriate villain for the final special. I think they did some great stuff with him. Neil Patrick Harris was great in the part. Once I kind of understood what he was saying, I was just like, oh. I had to turn subtitles on in that opening scene. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. But yeah, he was great fun. And yeah, the whole separate sequence, the Spice Up Your Life thing, it was just, as soon as it started playing, that I was like, that's the fucking Spice Girls, isn't it? And then he just bursts in and he has like all the different costume changes.
Yeah.
The way he just, makes fools of everyone. And some people he'll just turn into like balls and balloons and whatever. Some people he'll just throw at walls. So yeah, I like the kind of, I say unpredictability. I mean, we have, had those kind of sequences before, but it was just fun, even though it really shouldn't be fun. It was very fun to watch. I did enjoy that whole sequence, and I can't wait for my dad to watch it to see his reaction to that, because he will love it. He loved the Rasputin scene. He loved the I can't decide scene, so I can't wait for him to see that. But he hasn't even seen Wobbly Yonder yet, so I'm kind of like,
so just skip this one. It's fine. You don't
he's like, oh, I'm going to catch up on EastEnders. No, EastEnders, wait, watch Doctor Who. But yeah, that whole sequence, I think for me, just it kind of deserved its own little positive in itself, because it was just probably my favorite sequence of the 3 specials. So I think it does kind of deserve that sort of shout out. It was just bonkers Doctor Who in the best way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My favorite bit as well is where he goes through the trapdoor at the end and just goes honk honk, and I'm like, oh. I was like, wait a minute, what? It's just standout TV. TV of the year. Great stuff. It's making it. Move over, Last of Us. It's now Spice Up Your Life with the
only thing that could have improved it is if he danced with that robot thing that's like floating to the corner.
Yes, yeah. The I wrote it down. What's it called? The Vlinks.
The Vlinks.
What it is, so you know.
To work on those anagrams, folks. What villains that actually going to turn out to be?
Lynx. It's Commander Lynx from the Sontarans.
He's back finally.
So my second positive is Shooty Catwalk.
That's my first.
There you go. God, we've knocked all 3 of yours out in my 2. God.
Yeah, well done.
I mean, we'll come on to the bioregeneration thing in a minute, because that does turn up my positives. So just putting that out there. I think, I know he came out and he was fresh. Is that the best way to describe it?
I guess
there was just such a different energy about it.
Yeah, there was again a playfulness to him, but he really did feel like, oh yeah, this is the oldest incarnation yet. And that's kind of impressive. I think it's helped that this happens, like 20 minutes of the episode left. So, it's not like we have one scene with a new Doctor right at the end and then we have to wait to see him again. So we really do. I think we have a very good sense of what he's going to be like already, which is great. But yeah, there was something, I think, very, fresh, I think is probably the right word. Obviously, the way he comes about in itself is fresh and something. So that also
new for sure.
He just is. I think it's kind of the best start a Doctor's got, and I think
Yeah, and previously we've had, even when David regenerated and then Matt Smith, we've had that. Oh, I'm still regenerating. Oh, I need 5 minutes, but this is just straight into it. He's straight catching and throwing balls, labeling the sass left, right, and center. Solving problems already that the other doctor's like, oh, I don't know, and he's like, no, this is what we're doing. Pull yourself together.
Listen to me.
Go home, have a cup of tea, and then just chill.
I'm
right?
fine because you sort your shit out. So do it.
Yeah, piss off, please. So I think he had a commanding presence immediately, and especially coming up with alongside David Tennant, who is thought of as one of the best doctors and is has considerable experience acting wise to Shooty. I think it's fair to say. You can see that these are just they're level. There's no like, oh yeah, I'm the better version, or I'm the they're a level. They're the same character. They're the same person, and you can see that, and they play off each other really well. It's the first time we've seen an older regeneration sort of interact with his next one in this way, because it's not like they're two separate time streams crossing over. It's literally like similar to Jodie meeting doctors at the edge. It's a similar thing to that, except it's physical. They played together really well. Shooty was he was just he had that bounce that I think we've probably not seen in a new Doctor since Matt Smith, I would say. Jodie was she took some time to get the bounce, I think, where she was a bit more, jumping around, sort of light-footed type thing. Peter Capaldi was always very sort of stern, I think. Yeah. And this one feels very much, early David Tennant, Matt Smith sort of, I'm jumping onto the screen, I'm going out to have fun, which is great. I think, what I was sort of thinking rewatching this is, I'm so excited for us to go back to just Monster of the Week stuff without any major revelations about the Doctor's
That's
lore.
What I'm really hoping we're going to get. That's what I'm really hoping for. But they're already hyping up the Christmas special as like even more bonkers than Special 2, and it's a reinvention. So I'm like,
I mean, I think they can reinvent the show enough stylistically wise, but I think we've had enough from Power of the Doctor, Fugitive of the Jadoon, and this to be like, look, we've messed about with sort of the history, and as much as I love learning more and changing the history of the show, I'm all for it. But I think
it does need to be a status quo for a while.
Yeah, it needs to pause and just have, oh, this is a big bad that wants to kill everyone. I think that's fine. You don't need to do any more. Oh, I need to put my stamp on the show and change things. Yeah. Which obviously at least 2 of the 3 previous showrunners have done. I think Moffat's probably the only one that didn't think, yes, I'm going to massively change the show's backstory. The most he did was bring Gallifrey back. And that was it.
And even that was with Russell's permission.
Well, exactly.
Permission for it. So.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh, Gallifrey. What a ride.
But yeah, I think I'm excited to see how he plays in and see how Shooty grows into the role. We only get the 10 minutes, but already his interaction with sort of Mel and Donna and sort of the respect he gives them and sort of the interaction he has with them all. Didn't really see him interact with Kate as much. I don't think I don't think they really had a conversation, or Shirley.
No, I don't think no. But I'm sure we'll get that.
I think we'll definitely get that, given what we've seen being filmed. I think we're expecting returns of some of these characters. Yes. So I'm excited to see how that goes, and I'm very excited for his Doctor. And I'm excited to see where the show goes with him as the lead, because he is the lead of the show. And no matter, it's a very strange thing, and we'll come on to the whole splitting the Doctors thing. A lot of people are saying, doing that's gonna make people say, oh, he's not the real one. But at the minute, touch wood, I've only seen people saying that it's gonna make people say that. I've not actually seen people say that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think people will forget that 14th Doctor's still alive once we go into the normal run of the show. And Shooty's performance will help them forget that, I think.
Yeah.
Judging from what we've seen. What did you want to add? Anything else to add to Shooty's 20 minutes in the sun?
Yeah, he's just so good. It's just so good. Mm-hmm. And the second he literally popped up out of David Tennant's shoulder. I was like, what the fuck? He was just great.
Clothes.
Yeah, that's probably why I couldn't stop watching him. But yeah, Russell knew what he was doing.
He knew which person to give the trousers to.
Yes. It's funny because he wore the trousers in the relationship between the two doctors, but he wasn't wearing the trousers.
No, he certainly wasn't.
That was quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he was just electric. And again, you know, I've seen him in Sex Education, and you know, you get a sense of that, like, okay, yeah, he's going to be really good as a doctor. But not once did I even think of his character from Sex Education when I was watching him, and that's obviously the sign of a very good actor. You know, you just forget these previous like huge breakout roles that he's had. You know, I didn't think of Ken from Barbie watching him or anything. It was like, he's just the doctor right from the off. I mean, one of his first lines is like, "Yeah, I'm me, bitch." Not with that bitch, but that was the sentiment behind it. But yeah, he was just electric. I really loved the kind of physicality he was bringing to it. You know, the one-handed cartwheel as he was catching the balls and all that jazz. You know, the kind of love and affection he was showing towards 14 and Donna and Mel and everyone that he kind of interacted with there. There is a bit of playfulness and fun to him. You know, him kind of working out, oh, the Toymakers game's technically still being played, I guess, because I haven't got my prize yet, so I can yeet a new TARDIS out of the old one. You know, so he's got a lot of energy to him with that. But yeah, he stole the show for me. He stole the last 20 minutes he was in. I just, whenever he was on screen, I couldn't stop watching him. You know, definitely a breath of fresh air. But I do think I did need, I think, after, you know, wasn't series 4 great, the specials. So I am glad that he kind of got that focus here. And I'm just so excited to see more of him. I think he's made a phenomenal first impression. And to see him, you know, without all that baggage now, get a companion of his own. Now he's got a TARDIS of his own with the jukebox and all that kind of stuff going down. I'm so excited to see more of him on Christmas Day and beyond. But yeah, he was just standout performer for me of the episode. And I'm just very, very excited for 15, even more so than I already knew I would be.
Yeah. I think it definitely helps that people knew to expect him, and there was already a lot of sort of buzz around him, not just for in a role as an actor anyway. So I think a lot of people feel that they're in safe hands immediately. You know, whereas previously, when a Doctor regenerated, it's kind of been like not an unknown actor, but someone that's not necessarily thought of for the role. You know, Matt Smith was fairly unknown at the time. Peter Capaldi wasn't necessarily known for playing this kind of role, and obviously Jodie Whittaker, when she came in, there was a lot of speculation around her.
David Tennant when he came in.
Well, even David Tennant,
basically every Doctor. Well, not both times.
Well, I mean, you could argue that with him being the 14, there was the whole speculation around: is he different? Is he? But I think
but then he went, what?
Oh yeah. No, fair enough. My final positive then is sort of the 14's ending, his sort of happy ending. And maybe I guess we'll just put the happy ending of the episode. I think we spoke in a video at some point in the past few weeks saying that all of Russell T Davies's like season finales have just been depression and have always ended on like you know, whereas the ending for this is just straight.
He's like, you're getting one. You're getting one good one, and then 15's gonna cry.
Yeah, the very next episode. So you know, I was just happy that we had this sort of nice ending. I liked how 14 was kind of like, I've done so much shit. I just need to chill and maybe visit New York once in a while with Mel. You know, I like that. I like that he's just happy. He finally is a happy person, which he hasn't been. You know, the Doctor hasn't been happy since maybe the 7th Doctor before he was gunned down.
Probably.
I think that's last time.
They've been through a lot since then,
yeah, right. Because he was just chilling, reading a book at that point. You know, he was enjoying himself. Then gunned down, fighting the Master, doing all kind of shit in audio form, and then the Time War, and then fucking Daleks and death and destruction and the end of the universes, and so he deserves a break. He deserves just a chance to just sit down, and I think after everything that we saw happen with 13, you could make a point that it's a bit annoying that it had to be sort of this point where someone's like, we're going to bring back somebody new, somebody old, just to have this moment, and it couldn't have just been 13 that went through this. But I guess you know, bringing them back gives you the sort of emotional baggage of everything that came before, so you've kind of got an easy leg up. But yeah, I appreciated where he left off and how happy he was, and he had this nice little family, and he was calling Rose his niece, and I was like, this is so wholesome. And then at the same time, you've got the 15th Doctor, who is now clear of emotional baggage, or 99% clear of emotional baggage.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah, so he can now go and get new emotional baggage.
Yay!
Which I guess is where Russell's coming into, is it's like a refresh show. It's only because all of that stuff that was sort of hanging on to him has sort of now been put away, and it can be a fresh slate for literally everything, which I'm excited to see how that goes and what they do with that. Can't wait for them to reveal that Gallifrey has once again been destroyed in the second episode, and that he once again is responsible for it. But I still appreciate that there's a clean slate, that 15's so like excited again to go out and stop stuff and do stuff, whereas maybe 14 was a bit like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. Although he would never outwardly admit that, which he actively avoids, at least in this episode of Wild Blue Yonder. He's like, oh, that's fine, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, very 13 of him.
Yes, exactly. And you kind of know, well, look, you're clearly not fine. And 15 says that to him, like, you need to go and sort yourself out so that I can go away.
Yeah, for my safety.
Not have to worry about it. Yeah. And we'll see how that plays in, how it pans out in the thing. Does whatever 14 does that impact 15? Like, is there an issue, something there, or is it just, you've taken all my emotional baggage, see you later? I don't. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out over the long run, if they even address it, because they might just put it away and go, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. It's fine. So we'll see. But yeah, I just appreciate the happy ending, because we all thought Donna's dead. We were thinking there's death and destruction going on. Someone's dying in this, and nobody did, except for those two unit soldiers that got turned into balls, and the other ones that got pushed off the building. So other than that,
was great. That bit. They're probably still falling.
Yeah, oh. I gasped like, oh,
savage.
Oh, no. Yeah, just in the start of it, you hear that, and all of a sudden the guy goes, oh.
Spice down,
But yeah, I think just a happy ending is so nice. It's just such a nice cozy thing, and I was like, oh, thank you for my sanity. Thank you, I needed this. Have you got any additional positives?
Let's have a look. What have I got? I mean, just seeing like the unit lot was cool. I like seeing Kate again, and her when she kind of like, yeah, that guy's cool. When she's like, okay, turn my thing off and let me go crazy for a bit. That was quite fun.
Yeah.
Felt very much like a scene we watched recently when we watched a classics series of Sober Days.
Yeah, racist days.
If you know, you know. That's
racist.
Particular scene. I think that was Battlefield. Was that story? I can't remember.
Yeah. I think it
either
was.
way, something like that. It was that season anyway. So that was fun.
Yep.
See, and obviously we got Mel back after her cameo in Power Doctor, and they had a bit of a catch up. So that was fun.
The worst kept secret for the specials, Mel.
I know the fact that I love that.
No, she's not there. Don't look at her.
When it leaked when they were filming that scene, like, so Mel, Russell was just like, I didn't think about that. I didn't think that would be. I didn't think that people would overhear that. Of course they would. That was very funny. It's like, yeah, whoops, sorry. And when she's literally in those stills that they released a couple of days ago, and they still haven't announced that she's in it. Very funny. So yeah, that was.
But cool. They did announce that she was in the next series. So it was like, why not just
using a picture of her from the Giggle.
Yeah, with the band,
which is brilliant.
Oh, silly.
So yeah, I liked her kind of popping up, made it feel a bit more like an anniversary kind of deal, I guess. And obviously seeing Shirley again, however briefly, was great, and her reaction to the wheelchair accessible TARDIS, and she's just like, finally, that was great. So I enjoyed all of that. Very wholesome kind of behind the scenes interview with her as well, when she talks about that, and she gets quite emotional, which was I was like, so that was nice as well. That's very cool. From the chat for those unit guys who just destroyed. So yeah, I liked seeing that, kind of getting a proper inside look of that unit tower that we saw briefly at the in the Star Beasts. We saw it from the outside, so that's fun. And obviously, we're gonna, I'm sure, see a bit more of that in future. And I thought just the idea of using like the first thing put on television, like the puppet, that was the first thing they ever put on television. That as an idea, I think it's just cool to kind of use that and put a Doctor Who twist on it. I thought it was a good point in history to kind of revisit, and it makes sense that Toymaker could use that to do what he wanted to do to cause all that chaos. So I thought that was a cool idea as well. And yeah, I did like, 14's ending. I mean, I'm back and forth on it really, but I do like that it's a good way of just being like let's park all that baggage and now we can just have it be Doctor Who for a bit, and maybe like restart that lore over in a way. So I did like that, and 14 being the happiest he's ever been in his life, and having a family and everything. I thought that was really nice. The reason Donna thinks he got that face back, I thought that was quite sweet as well. Like, so he can come home. I was like, ooh, very wholesome. It did have similar beats to like, to get that face back to say goodbye. So I wasn't like, okay, you kind of hit this already.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, that is exactly why. And to say hello as well. Yes. So I did like that kind of, I guess, speculative reasoning as to why he might have chosen that face back. So that was sweet. I did like that kind of a happy regeneration story in a way.
Yes.
Which I did like that kind of changed things up. Beyond just the, I guess, by regeneration thing. So yeah, I liked all of that kind of stuff as well. So lots to enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My sort of additional ones is, you already touched on it, the puppets, the puppetry. They're all physical stuff as well. They weren't like CGI stuff, which is even worse. Like when it's hiding in the corner and comes out the shadows, like, I do not like this. This is worse than what was in last week. I'm not a fan. No, thank you. And even when like he pulled the guy down off the thing, I was like, why is he wrapped up like that? And then when he was talking about it, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, you could see he was wooden.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, he's a puppet. And then when he looks away and it's David Tennant, I was like, David Tennant's the puppet.
Again, another new David Tennant.
Not another one.
For God's sake, let it go.
I liked all of that. And then I also thought the music throughout, I think these three specials has been pretty good.
I thought particularly the opening scene with all the chaos on the streets. I love the music in that.
Yes. Yeah, I know a lot of people have already compared it to the music for years and years, which, funnily enough, Murray Gold also scored. No, I know, right? Working with Russell T Davies, who could have guessed?
Well, I know.
But I really like the music throughout the whole of the specials. I think it's its own thing, and it successfully makes new music for itself while also incorporating previous themes that tie in thematically with what's happening on there. Like with this one, when 14's regenerating and Mel's like, oh, you were fantastic. It's the Ninth Doctor's regeneration music that's sort of mixed in with everything else, which is great. And obviously the introduction of 15's theme as well, I think works really well in this one. I know you had concerns when we listened to it.
It works a lot better in that, which is kind of what I hoped it would.
Yes, yeah, and I think when it starts playing this one, like this is great. This is great stuff. And if we continue, I think these three specials were a case of using musical cues to be like, hey, remember this? And I think it works fine there. So I'm looking forward to hopefully that not being the case moving forwards, and it'll be all brand new music, which I'm sure it will be. But I still appreciate sort of the how it was used in this one. And yeah, it's done very well, I think, in my point of view. Better than the 50th, I will say. I think the 50th just...
What a surprise.
I know, but for me, the 50th just literally reused the music and didn't try and do anything different with it, whereas I feel for this one, it's more incorporating the style of that music into newer bits and making it flow a bit better rather than just sort of feeling a bit choppier. But, it's the same composer, so he can do what he wants. He had some time off, and he also probably had a bit more time to work on the score for the 60th stuff.
Yes, he's had like 2 years. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine that kind of plays a role. But that's just how it's worked. So, after loads of positives, we must now talk of the negatives. Again, some of these might cross over a bit more. My first one is two TARDISes, TARDISi.
Mm-hmm.
I can take the two doctors. I'm fine with the bi-regeneration. I think that's fine. I think it's a good way of having a doctor continue, and then if you want to bring them back in for a multi-doctor story further down the line, you don't have to worry about, oh, they look a bit older than they used to. They're not gonna, I know Doctor Who's never really bothered with that before, but it's always been, I think, a stick where some fans and non-fans can like beat it with and be like, oh, he doesn't look like that. You saw it with Power of the Doctor, where a lot of fans were like, yeah, it's great, but others were like, oh, I wish they didn't do that. Yeah. So there's a whole thing around that. So that's fine. I can deal with that. And also opens it up for other stories, however you want to do it. However, if you are going to have the whole point of the 14th Doctor be staying on Earth with Donna and, just living quietly, don't give him a TARDIS. It doesn't make sense to do that. From this, I know you probably want to give it to him so that in the future you can stumble across him and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm just out for a stroll or whatever. Fine, but
I think that just completely defeats the point of it.
Yeah, you can easily just not have that now, and then if you want to introduce that in the future, just come up with another way of doing it in the future. Oh, another Doctor turned up, and I've nicked his TARDIS for 5 minutes, something like that. I mean, it depends how quickly it comes back. If it doesn't come into play for like 3 years, fine. But I think if it's like immediately, the end of the next series, I'm like, oh.
I just think if it ever comes back, why do it in the first place? Why do this in the first place?
Yeah. Age. Because they can say, oh, I genuinely think, and I think this is what sort of Russell said, is that it just now means that if ever he appears somewhere else in other media or whatever, they don't have to justify him being in a certain point and being like, oh, where does that fit in the canon? They can just be like, oh, it's just when he did this. And again, I think that's more of an internal, I need to manage what's going on and where everything is, because notoriously the show has been, oh, you could do whatever you want, Big Finish. That's fine. you just insert stories there. I think this is more of, they want more creative control over where their characters go. Again, I mean, I still wouldn't have given them second TARDIS. The Doctor doesn't necessarily need the TARDIS. We've had Earthbound Doctors before. Literally, the third Doctor, most of his stuff is on Earth.
We've had a Tenant clone be given their TARDIS before.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't have done it. And again, there's a lot of speculation over which one has the original TARDIS at the minute. I think already Russell has said there's a thing coming up in the newer series where this confirms that the one Ncuti has is the original one, which isn't necessarily clear from how it's done, because it looks like
what we see on screen. But yeah,
no, I mean, I guess you could argue, oh, actually, that's just it copies itself and then moves up, whatever. But it still goes back to the point where it's just you solve all this mess by just not giving one, or at the very least, just giving him like an egg. Just like, giving him like, here's this, you can grow this, and in 20 years it will be a TARDIS. That's a simpler thing, and then that way you don't have the speculation. But I just don't give it to him. That's my main criticism. That's my main criticism of the episode, is just don't give him the TARDIS.
Yep.
But what's your first one?
I guess it does kind of, tie into that. I think a way of summarizing it, is the connotations of the bi-regeneration and what that might mean for the future and stuff. I mean, right from the off, if they'd set it up in any way, or they'd mentioned this in the 60 years prior to this moment, instead of like, oh, it's a myth. Rarely happens. I'm like,
remember this myth that's never been mentioned before?
That's never been brought up. That's crazy, isn't it? That we've never heard of before. It was very much a Deus Ex Machina, wasn't it, really? I do think it undermines Ncuti's arrival a bit, because he doesn't get the classic regeneration entrance. I think it shows a bit of a lack of faith, to be honest, because it's like, well, we could always have just David Tennant come back, and that is always going to be the thing. People are always going to be like, why, if David Tennant's out there, why can't they just get him back? Why is if they've got 14 rounds?
I guess always the defense in that is that technically he's always around as the 10th Doctor,
Yes, but there are now 3 David Tennants that can always be running around. I understand, fans are going to have their favorites. Writers are clearly going to have their favorites. Production teams are going to have their favorites. When the show itself is like, this is clearly the best Doctor, and highlights that in this way, I just think that's disrespectful and wrong, to be honest. It's these weren't really a 60th anniversary specials. It was a series full circle jerk. I think you'd be doing well to try and say that's not the case. And future Doctors now, if their bi-regeneration doesn't happen with the next, Shooty clearly wasn't good enough then, was he? Because he's not going to be going around having his own body now. So that's always going to be the question going forward. Does 14 die of old age now? Does he still have regenerations? Is he just going to disappear one day and merge back into the 15? I wish we kind of gotten something about that, because then his retirement kind of means nothing if he's just going to fade anyway, or just die. I don't know. 14 still got a TARDIS. He's still already established that he's been sneaking away and going behind Dom's back to go and travel and stuff. I think that completely undermines the emotional journey that he went on. So there's just no point. It feels like they're trying to reboot the show with Shooty going forward, but also to understand that you need to watch Shooty's first appearance in these specials, and to understand specials, you need to watch 2008 series. So I think it was just way too overcomplicated to be like, aren't we great? That's kind of how it came across to me. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way a bit. I think the bi-regeneration as an idea is cool, but it's always going to ask us questions of like, well, now what? It really does put a pedestal on Tennant with yet another version of him that's happy and can do all this stuff in an ending that's kind of already been done before in Journey's End with him. So, I just think there's a lot of problems with that personally, because you're always going to get those people being like, well, 14's around on Earth if 15's in trouble on present day. Oh, 14's right there. Why can't he turn up? Is he just ignoring all this now? Okay.
And that's the problem that a lot of like MCU projects have, is that this big thing's happening. Why don't the Avengers just assemble and help?
Yeah.
It's always the same way.
It very much, I mean, the whole Hooniverse thing, it's the in thing to do, isn't it? And I can see why they're doing that, because they're making it more of a brand. But they've already kind of started to take it in directions that I'm like, oh dear. I don't know. I already feel a bit worn out of Doctor Who. We've only had 3 60th anniversary specials.
I think a lot
spin-offs and all sorts in future.
Yeah, I think a lot of that though is down to, and again, it's the same with the MCU. It's down to the online aspect of it.
Oh, definitely. That's a huge portion of it.
And doing all that, and it's. I can't wait for the years where I don't go on social media as an old man, and I just sit and watch stuff and just never worry about it.
The first thing I saw on X today, you're going to be surprised who it is. I won't say who it is. Who maybe it's recency bias, but 60th anniversary specials, it's greater than 50th anniversary special. Maybe it's recency bias, is it? Maybe. It aired yesterday. It aired less than 24 hours ago. But, that's their prerogative. I just feel like it's overblowing it. I feel like it's some changes, having a trans character play an important role, a necessary change. Wheelchair accessible TARDIS, necessary change. Bi-regeneration and all of this just feels like controversy for controversy's sake, rather than actually doing something positive for the show.
Yeah, I think that's where it lies, is that it's all going to depend on how this goes moving forwards. I think it depends on how this impacts the next 5 years of the show. I think that's what will determine whether this was a good move or not. Because I can only assume that Russell has ideas of what this has spawned, if this is what he's done, because it's a very big move to kind of just throw in there, like, yeah, that's fine. He must have an idea of what he wants to do with that. And I think when we see the outcome, that will be where it's like, okay, that actually worked out pretty well. That's fine now. But I think until that point, it's a bit like,
because I did see, I think it was an interview with them yesterday. They were talking about obviously the bioregeneration and everything, and like, you know, is there going to be like a proper version of like 14 regenerating to 15? And Russell was like, oh, we'll have to do that next time. Like,
yeah.
14's
Because
done.
that's again,
Like, that's his happy ending.
That's the other implication, is that when 14's like, 15's like, you go through the therapy. So I'm like, so when 14 eventually does die, does he just like merge back into 15?
Yeah.
Is that what's going to happen? Or is he
Is
just
it like a Watcher kind of situation with Tom Baker?
Yeah.
I just
yeah.
Is that?
I mean,
is
that
what
happened.
is
That
gonna
happened
happen?
once, and nobody talks about that anymore. So this could just be that. It could just happen and just nothing anymore.
They've got a surefire way of Tennant again showing up in a regeneration story, because he can just merge into Gatwell when he goes.
He could just be an old man. He could be 75 and go, "Whoop! Now I'm this one."
There it is. So I feel like there's just way too many problems with it to just make it worth it. I think you just have to let things go. That is the point of the show, is like changing and moving forward, and they just didn't with this. And I don't know, I feel like it took something special away from a regeneration, I think. You know, I think you're supposed to kind of lose that Doctor, and that makes you love them a bit more, because you lose them. And going forward, and obviously people have 10 that they lost already, and I don't know, it's just, I think it's just like, look how great we are, look how great this era was. I don't like when Doctor Who itself is saying that, because that's just, you know, those people who have those opinions are going to have them, and now they've been proven right. And I think that's just the wrong way to go about it. I think it causes way more problems and asks way too many questions with just no on-screen explanations or setup than it needed, you know, than is worth it. So, you know, I think it's a decent idea, and seeing it play out on screen, like the actual bioregeneration and everything, was fine, because, you know, like, okay, it's a cool way of defeating the Toymaker. Like, there's two Doctors versus him now. That's cool. But after that, there's no need for it to happen. It's just there to it feels like it's just like, oh, that's a good way they can stop the Toymaker, and they didn't think about what does that mean going forward. Never mind, I'm just going to write it. That's how it came across to me, and I just think it's very messy and sends the wrong messages. And, you know, we obviously already had Joe Martin as our first Black Doctor, but you know, I guess a mainline Black Doctor coming in to be immediately like, but we always have this straight white man we can go back to. Immediately sharing the screen with him. He doesn't get his own moment in the spotlight, and he's in the episode for 20 minutes, which is bizarre. You know, I think there's a lot of problems with that, personally. So, you know, maybe that's just me. I did kind of, during like my position online with Doctor Who these past few like weeks and everything, the specials and stuff, just seeing all the discourse and blah. Maybe I'm just outgrowing this era a bit. Maybe I'm just outgrowing Doctor Who a bit. That could be what's happening.
I think you're more outgrowing the community than necessarily the show, I think, is how.
Perhaps, but
that's, I think,
with it becoming the Who-niverse, and there's no escaping that. It's going to become just part of it now. So yeah, maybe it's going to be one of those eras for me, but we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But, you know, I think it's just more of a problem than it needed to be, just to be like, yay, David Tennant's great, which he is. But, you know, we already knew that. And you can only just bring 10 back if you wanted to, because we're never going to see 10 again now. We're never going to see the 10 again.
No.
And I think that's kind of
no. Let's be honest. We will. The next thing will be 10 and 14 together. That will be.
No, because then
10
looks too old.
Yeah, you know that'll be the case. You know that'll be the case. It's
definitely going to happen, but then you're going to get people like, oh, 10's too old.
Again, but and then what? I do want to get into this, but what Russell was sort of saying is that this is the thing. He was going on about like, oh, in the Vision commentary, I say some stuff which will make you change like your view of the regenerations, and apparently, according to him, he sees it as every single Doctor from that bioregeneration happens, then that ripples back, and every Doctor sort of went whoop. Rather than a change into one. So in theory, you could get 10 and 14 show up, and they won't have, because they were like, when you regenerated, I be blah 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 blah. And then, so then
that's very boring.
Again, But again, I think it all depends on how it will play in the future. I think,
and it feels like oh, now any doctors can meet at any time. And like
they could already do that.
Yeah,
Just
you could already do
they'd
that.
look older.
And it'd be good to do that for maybe, I don't know, an anniversary special, and then just do it every 10 years. And you haven't done that with this one, and you had 3 hours. You know.
Yeah, because I guess just... you could have had this as if you had the Giggle to start, or if you didn't have Wild Blue Yonder and you did Star Beast, Giggle, and then a third one with a bigger threat and other doctors. I think that might have been the better way to go. And then you could look at maybe Blue Yonder being a bit more of like a filler episode in terms of the overall plot, which unfortunately it probably is at this point. Doesn't mean it's not a good episode, but
no, the episodes are good. It's not a 60th anniversary, but the episodes are good. You know, when you actually have people saying, "Oh, we want to come back," and you just don't. I'm going to bring back this doctor and this companion. And give
I'm just going to make 2 of these doctors instead of having a different one.
Yeah, it just, I think that's just the wrong message to send. And it's going to give people more power, unfortunately, that shouldn't have it in the fandoms, I think. So yeah, that's kind of, it was a big one to get out of the way. I promise my other two are a lot more simple and are more so to do with the story rather than the connotations of going forward. But I had to get it off my chest because that's just how I feel.
No, I think that's fair enough. And I do think that a lot of people do feel the same way as well. So I don't think it's not just a you thing.
And obviously in time, and maybe they will do something more important and better with it, you know. You know, I was so nervous about them undoing Donna's exit with this, but I really liked what they did with the Star Beast. So maybe there will be a silver lining to this cloud. But oh my god, there are a lot of clouds with this choice.
When Shooty regenerates and just splits off into 2 Shooties and 3 Shooties, they've tri-regenerated. You're like, oh no!
They're going to announce he's leaving, but he's not actually leaving. He just splits into 2 Shooties.
Oh, the Doctor's regenerating at the end of this series, but we're not going to announce who it is. It's Shooty again.
That would be. I mean, I'd respect that. So there you go. That's my dump out of the way.
No, I do think it's fair enough, and I think people do agree. And from my view, I do harbour some of the same concerns, and I do think that the next 5 years will show what.
I can't like hold up a sign saying, "Oh, it's the end of the world," because we don't know what happens yet.
No,
so it's just I want to get those concerns out there because I do think it is the wrong choice.
You want to get on the record.
It always will be, but maybe something goodish can come from it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My second negative, and I think we've touched on this when we were speaking before, but Donna was a bit left out of this one.
That was mine as well. I think it's more so a shame that it is the last of the special, and this might be the last time we see Catherine Tate. Probably won't be, let's be honest. But
no, not with the unit spin-off that's theorized. She's got that job now.
That's true. She's got that. So. Yeah, she's fucking nailing it now, isn't she?
So, on 120k a week, so she'll be back. It's fine.
Yeah, she really was just kind of there. But yeah, I at least she had something decent in the first 2. But yeah, she was just kind of there to be traumatized by puppets for a bit, and that was about it.
Yeah, I think this episode was more about. So if we think the first one's more about Donna, Star Beast. The second one's about the 2 of them. And sort of coming to terms with that, and then the third one I think is more about the Doctor, which is why she's kind of sidelined a bit more there, because she doesn't. They make a big thing of maybe I'll save you. No. Sorry, good idea, but you're not saving anyone. Sorry, you're just gonna sit there. Which is a shame. They could have.
Oh, actually, that might be another negative. Is that like a bonus thing? I know it's a bonus one, so I'll talk about it.
Yeah, go on.
Where I think the scene where he's like, "I don't think I can save your life this time, Donna." That happens way too quickly. Him just getting to that point where he's like, "I can't do it." And this is the one episode where Donna's genuinely in no danger ever. And I'm like, "Why are you thinking that in this one?"
Might get shot by a gun. Ooh, might get turned into bouncy balls. I mean, she has a nice time when she's typing on the computer some.
I did like her working that out. It was like a music thing.
Yeah, and that one was, I think, the highlight of her episode was the music bit, and then she typed some.
Did you know Bonnie Langford is a singer and dancer? Did
you know don't want to give that impression. And all she gets to do in the dance number is spin.
But my God, does she spin?
She spins well. But yeah, I mean,
Oh my god, Mel spin-off confirmed. She's banned.
Oh, could you imagine? That's how they announce it. Spinning off to into Babylon.
Spinning off into the adventures of Mel.
But yeah, I think for Donna, it's not that she just didn't have much to do in this one. Maybe that would have changed if Bernard Cribbins was able to film whatever he might have filmed. There might have been more of a Donna subplot there, but obviously for obvious reasons that couldn't happen. So maybe there's that, but she like most of the sort of side characters outside of this is very much a Doctor v Toymaker rather than sort of a group versus the Toymaker, and I can kind of accept that, but at the same time, you make a whole big show about bringing Donna in, and then she's not that important in the third one. She has the good scene with the puppets and stuff, but I think just when the Doctor's like, go back to the TARDIS, she might as well have just gone back to the TARDIS.
She should have really gone back,
because nothing would have changed. I think she does have a nice moment where she's like telling him that you need to sit down and stop running about before he's like, oh, let's go look over here. So I think there's a nice sort of running thread there of her being like the presence that calms him. But at the same time, she just doesn't have.
And 15 just tells him that anyway.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of easier when it's coming from yourself and you know yourself telling yourself that than somebody else. I guess there's a whole psychological thing there that we don't want to go into.
I would do anything Shooty Gatwa told me to do.
This is fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, did you have any additional thoughts on Donna being sidelined?
Not really. I guess it was kind of a shame, but we are probably going to see her again, aren't we? Should we? No, but I think we're going to.
There's no reason why we can't anymore. She's not at risk or anything, is she? So
that is true. So until she is inevitably killed off for real.
Hey, she might be. Yeah, she might be killed if she's in the unit spin-off. They might go, we need people to take this show seriously. Let's kill Donna in episode 1.
Yeah. After 2 fake outs in a row, and then an episode where she doesn't do anything.
Just
bring her in and kill her in episode 1 of a spin-off.
Here's your 120k. Now die.
14 completely goes off the bandwagon. 15 dies because he's not okay anymore. His all just goes horribly wrong.
Could you imagine?
But yeah, I like that she's kind of, I guess, there for 14 at the end, and it's like that support and that family for him. But yeah, it was a shame. I don't think she really got a classic Donna moment in this one.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. So my sort of third negative, it's one that's being pointed out a lot online, is there's a lot of Russell reusing ideas in this.
Yeah, this is like a bonus one for me.
Yeah, so there's been elements of that throughout sort of the first 2, but not like majorly and not loads. Obviously, you can make your arguments around Wild Blue Yonder being Midnight 2.0. If you want to do that, that's fine. I get it. But I think for this one especially, I've written down the 3 that came up, and at least one of these is referenced in show, so they're kind of like, oh, it's okay because we talk about it.
That excuses it.
Yeah. One of them is a secret, obviously the puppet being a secret message that's been in the human race's head for ages. Very subliminal messaging from the Master, and they do reference the Archangel Network. And, it's not this. It's like, okay,
it is though.
It is. Just because it's not a satellite doesn't mean it's not the same thing. At the very least, it's very similar to him being Space Jesus when they all think of him. So similar stuff there. The obvious one as well is the red fingernailed hand picking up the
when that happened, I was like, this is a parody, right? Like, that's got to be.
There's no way you're doing that.
That's got to be a joke. It's literally exactly the same thing. It's even the Master that's being paid.
Yeah. I think what would have been better is if they just left the tooth there and had the laughing, and then just not show a hand picking it up. That's fine. Or maybe even just it blows away and it just falls off the edge. That's a different thing.
Keeps falling and just goes to someone's skull. Walking.
Yeah. That's how it takes over into your body. Yeah. But
the guy just walks out of the dentist. Just looks up. Bing! His eyes just glow.
Thank God I had this parachute. I just fell off the unit building. Thank God I packed my parachute and I've landed safely. Yeah, I mean, there's so much they could do, and I guess what it's there for is to tease, we could do this, and to get people talking and to get people speculating. That's really what it's there for. It's effectively a post-credit scene before the credits. but still, I don't think you necessarily need to do it. I liked the inclusion of the master in the tooth. I thought that was really neat. I think
That
just
was
the
funny.
hand picking it up is a bit
It's a
much.
very clean way of, being like, okay, the master can quite easily come back now.
Yes, we know where he is. He's in that
Yeah.
tooth. Just beware. People have already speculated. Is it Kate picking it up? She's the only one wearing red nails. And my first thought was it was Shirley because I thought she had red nails at some point in the specials, but I might be wrong. Others have speculated it's Jinx Monsoon's character who's turning up next season, but it could be anyone. I don't know if Russell's confirmed or denied when that is or when that might be, but I think we've already said previously that the Master should have a little bit of a rest.
Definitely. It might just be, his original intention when he did that exact scene before was like, so if someone can use it eventually, then he ended up using it himself. So maybe it's just that again.
He's just put it down there for, maybe he's giving himself options is basically what he's doing. And then obviously the other one is another David Tennant duplicate Doctor being left for a happy life. They're not things where I'm like, oh, I can't believe they've done this. Like they're fine. They're fine to reuse the story beats. As we know, there's no such thing as an original story anymore. Everything has been done before.
That's a copy yourself.
Yeah, but
quite something.
Copy yourself, and in some cases,
it feels quite circle jerky again.
Yes, and to make it so obvious as well, especially with the fingernailed hand, especially with that one.
I was genuinely in shock at that. That was the most shocking thing the episode did. I think. At least the bi-regionalization thing leaked months ago. But with this, I was
the Masters too.
It's exactly the same shot with exactly the same John Sim laugh.
Yeah. So it's not that I don't. It's not that I'm not a fan of. I'm fine with all these story beats. They're all okay. All 3 in 1 is ridiculous to start with, but using the same ones again, and the argument could be made is that all of these things haven't been in the show for 12, 15 years. So, you can argue that people watching now won't necessarily remember that, and it's only us that point that out and other fans online.
But fresh and new.
Yes, which runs into the whole. We need to see what the next series is like to see if this theme continues. It might not. I'm hoping it's a case of it won't, because it needs to sort of move on from this kind of thing. And I'm hoping that this has been Russell exercising those demons and getting that out of his system to now.
Yeah, I hope that's like this is his warm up now, and now he can.
Yes, he's eased himself back in, and now he's just going to do other stuff. But we will see.
We'll find out in a few weeks to see what the Christmas.
Yeah, we certainly will. So, what's your final negative?
Let's have a look, shall we? I wanted a bit more toy maker madness, I think is my best way of phrasing it.
That's my additional one, and it was almost my third negative.
Yeah, because showing that whole scene where they're trapped in the house thing, and Donna deals with those puppets, and the Doctor talks to that guy who's kind of been turned to a puppet kind of guy. It's like, wow, we haven't seen the toy maker for 15 minutes. I was like, is he coming back? So there's a bit of a dip there, and the idea of he's turning the human race on each other. They're all kind of arguing, thinking they're right and everything. We get that in the opening scene, and then that's it.
That's the MacGuffin of the episode, isn't it? It's the thing that they want to stop, but it's not.
I kind of wish maybe that did have more consequence. Even it'd be a cool excuse to, I guess, see a bit more of the Noble family, other than just right at the end, if we see them kind of dealing with that, because that would have been quite interesting. But I guess the things Silvio might have been shouting at people would just not have been able to air. Just too much swearing.
Yes.
So
too much racism. That's what it would have been.
Racism, and the relationship with Rose would never be the same.
No.
So maybe that's for the best, actually. But the shot of the toy maker when he's he's massive and he's got the string. Such a cool shot. I kind of wish that wasn't in the trailer now, because that's the only kind of cool toy making thing that we actually ended up getting. So the puppets and everything are great fun, and I do like the puppet show put on, but I do wish we had more of that. I think there probably could have been a chance to get that, especially when it comes down to it. I did want a bit more toy maker than we ultimately got, because it's just he's super threatening, and now he isn't instantly.
I think what I've said to you is that this could have and perhaps should have been a 2-parter. With the toy maker's antics going on for the first half, then you realize who it is, and then it gets wilder in sort of the first half of the second episode.
Yeah,
And
this would
then
be.
it
I think
goes
that would be
down.
my controversial opinion: is bin while Blue Yonder, and make this a
Yes.
two-part.
Yeah, and then you can also play more with the bi-regeneration thing if that happens at the start of or the end of the first part. You could then have the second episode be like, here's every single Doctor now,
Yeah.
and then have more of that. Because Neil Patrick Harris is just he's so good in this role, and I think he only gets maybe 2 or 3 standout scenes.
Yeah.
And he deserves more, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get him for too long, so they couldn't give him too much. It did kind of come across in some scenes of like, oh, I think he's probably shooting some of this a bit in separate times and places and stuff. But yeah, what we did get was great, and that's kind of why it's a shame. I feel like a big return after like 56 years or whatever it was. I wish there was a bit more Toymaker.
Do you know where there will be more Toymaker? The Target novelization.
That's true.
That comes out Thursday digitally.
That will actually have other Doctors in it, I expect.
So yeah, I will be. I think this will be the most interesting Target novelization to read.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
For a number of reasons.
Right, yeah, because it does feel like the Meep had its moment in the Star Beast and felt like fully cooked. The nothings in Marvel Yonder, they felt quite fully explored and stuff. But I feel like they didn't quite get all the potential they could have out of the Toymaker in this one.
But I guess they could argue that. I mean, you could argue this with the Meep as well, but they could bring the Toymaker back because he does say like, "Oh, this is just a face that hides my true being," so they can easily be like, "This is a Toymaker. It's just a different actor now, one that's just as camp and more readily available for scenes."
Because he's like, "Oh, my prize is that you are banished forever." And then I'll just change my name, and then the Toymaker's not banished. The Toymaker is banished forever, but I'm the maker of toys, so I'm back, baby. Whoa! Cool. So maybe we will get more Toymaker at some point. It depends, I guess, on Neil's ability or if they just want to recast or whatever. But they easily could recast if they need to, because that's kind of the point.
Yeah. That's what I did in the first place. So.
I do wish there was a bit more of like the stuff with like, I guess, creepy puppets and even just puppets of past Doctors or something. Like it would have been fine.
Even just
having another new tenant, just have it be like other Doctors coming at him or something.
Yeah, because he even says like he can just manipulate reality out of nothing. There's so much potential you could do there, and all he does is, not that I hate the Spice Girls scene, but that's the only place where we really see how mad it could get, and there's so much potential to do so much more with that. But time, I guess, maybe writing, maybe it was Neil Patrick Harris was only available for a week and they had to shoot everything then. But yeah, I think that's sort of maybe the biggest regret is that they just needed a bit more time with him. My only other additional negative is I don't believe that every puppet could just be on every screen. I don't think that's explored enough. Like how does that work? Oh, just the Toymaker did it. I'm like, what does that mean? I think there needs to be a sort of more of a admittance as to, as soon as I knew that the TV was going to happen, I decided that puppet that I gave that guy was Spooky Puppet. So now he goes everywhere. It was just like, oh, he's there. Now you're going crazy. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my overall additional one as well. I just wish some things I think just needed to be explained a bit more, I would say.
Yes. And then that's where
how did the Toymaker come back? I don't understand it still. Like I get the whole but like what's that mean? Like how does that mean? Like I spread some salt, I put this at the end of the universe or whatever, and this man can break out of an entirely different reality and come to this one. How? I don't know.
Okay. Sure.
He just simply did. It treated it like that was an explanation, but I was like, what? So it doesn't feel like that, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is fair enough. So was there any other negatives from you?
I think I touched on all the other ones I had in our prior conversations, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Have you got any fun facts for this week?
I do have a few.
Oh, I know they put out loads of behind the scenes stuff already for it. So
yeah,
God,
probably
so much, too much, if anything.
yeah, maybe some things are lifted from that, but again, mainly just from the wiki. So let's have a look. The Toymaker is the second established Doctor Who antagonist to be played by an American actor, following Eric Roberts portraying the Master in the TV movie. Yeah, bring him back. This is the first time since the TV movie that the Doctor regenerates partway through the story rather than at the end. Regenerates.
Nice.
Russell T Davies was inspired to write an episode around John Modi Baird's puppet when researching him for his ITV drama Nolly. Realizing a 2-foot-tall puppet wouldn't be an intimidating foe, he decided the Toymaker could be a good and effective antagonist.
And Russell is making sure that you know that that's the story as to how he came to this. He is mentioning it in every single interview. I've watched 2 behind-the-scenes things, and he mentions it both times. I think he said it in written interviews. I'm like, okay, I get you want to promote Nolly. I'm not going to watch it.
Please watch it. Please watch it.
Please. Russell, sorry.
Watch it. Anyway. This is the only new series regeneration story not to feature the Daleks or the Master, not counting the last the Toymaker's Gold Tooth. We did it! We did it! Hooray!
Finally.
At last, well done.
Get a name drop on the Sidemen and that's it.
Yeah, that's all you get. Bernard Cribbins was originally intended to appear in the episode as Wilf, but Cribbins' poor health prevented him from doing so. Wilfred appears briefly in the episode through use of a stand-in actor and archive audio from The Poison Sky. After Cribbins passed away, Russell wrote Wilf's death into the end of the story, but upon being asked by Phil Collinson if he was mad, he changed his mind.
That really would have tainted the nice happy ending. Oh, Wilf's dead.
I love that Wilf's legacy is, he hates moles. Just shooting the moles. He just hates them so much. He's going to kill the moles.
He's just had it.
Wilf's still affected by it, by the giggle. He's just,
that's the only thing he hates. Yeah.
Moles!
Wilf, the giggles, it stopped. I don't care, I just hate the moles. You could get away with it when everyone was going mad because they thought,
He's thinking of moles in the war. Like, there's a mole in the group. Kill the moles. No, Wilf, no, please. Dear. Footage of Rose at the garden party at the end of the story was used in the pre-title sequence of The Star Beast, contextualizing its usage there as a flash forward rather than a flashback. So there you go.
Okay. Sure.
And then finally, posters are seen in 1925 Soho for Henrik's, the department store Rose Tyler worked at in Rose. There was also a building given the Sanderson and Granger branding, the department store the 11th Doctor worked for in closing time. However, this was only seen during filming of the story and isn't visible in the final episode.
I don't know if you noticed, and I don't know if they've mentioned it, but is it Grade? Who's the guy that cancelled Doctor Who? Grade?
Michael Grade.
The shop next to the Toymakers one is Grade's Gentleman Haircuts, which is obviously a nod to said ex BBC controller. So that's
the most evil man alive.
Yeah. Oh god,
I love it. I do respect Michael Grade. So I love that.
I'll do it again.
They got him back for an interview for the collection box set. He was like, I don't regret it. You know what? I'd cancel it again if I could. I'm proud. I'm glad I did it. It made me happy.
To be fair, it probably was, in hindsight, it
needed a break. Yeah. It was the right thing to do.
It certainly was. Lovely. Cool. So, the Giggle, out of 10, what will you be giving it?
8.5 from me.
Nice. Mine is a 9.5. Just because I really liked it, and as I've mentioned before, I really like whenever they change the show up and they change the lore. We will see how that plays off in the longer run, and I hope that not every series finale is going to be time to change the lore again, because I just don't need that anymore. I can take it now. This is it. There's been a couple of big changes now. We've got him.
I know Russell likes going bigger and bigger all the time, but
no more. You can't go any bigger than this, please. You cannot.
Well, you can, because even the Toymaker's scared of someone.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, but at least you can't. Hopefully, that doesn't change the law.
And who are they going to be scared of?
That's true. Everyone's got to be scared of something.
Well, if it's Omega, then they are going to change the law.
That's true. Yeah. Hey, you never know. I think Omega will be a fun one. But
I feel like that's the next prime candidate to bring back. I think at this point.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've seen them. They could be the one who waits. I think is a fair one, unless it's literally going to be Arthur Darvill sat in a sat in the room going, "Hi," and that's
It's
it.
me,
Unlikely.
Arthur
Yeah, it's literally it's not even Rory. It's just Arthur
Darvill.
Darvill.
So Rory, it's just Arthur
You've
Darvill.
not asked me back yet. Why can't I come in?
Hello, I'm Doctor Who star Arthur Darvill.
Oh, but yes, that's it. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's come out of this. That's not just this episode, but the 3 specials. So we will probably be back talking about theories and thoughts and potential of what could be coming on. So much could be happening. I know, and then so this is where we're doing a bi-regeneration now because we're going to split off into a number of different ways we can go with these videos. So coming up, we still need to talk about Marble Yonder, so that will come up at some point. That's the
and that won't be as long as this one.
It won't. Not
I
in comparison to this. In comparison to this one, it'll be speedy. We'll also at some point get to Robot of Sherwood, which is our next one for the rewatch.
I haven't done that yet. Oh my god!
But that might be in the new year now, because then obviously in I think it's 15 days now, it will be the Church on Ruby Road, which is the Christmas special with Shooty and Millie Gibson, which is the kickoff of the brand new era. So we will see how that goes in, and we'll be back. Probably not immediately to talk about that because it's Christmas. We'll be busy, but we'll be back to talk about that as soon as possible. And then there'll be a new series next year. The current theory is spring, which wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see how that goes.
Brand new, fresh and new.
Spring, yeah. They tried autumn and it didn't work very well, so now they're going back to spring on Saturdays. Fresh. Great. Spring on Saturdays. That's where you need the TV to be. But yeah, that'll be it for now. We will be back with other videos on various things in the future and non-Doctor Who things. So we will see you.
Non-Doctor Who things.
Bye. Bye.